In this video we're going to solder a breakout wire for an EV3. So I'm cutting this EV3 wire in half here. I hope you have spares like I do. And once it's cut in half, we will be able to connect these DuPont jumper wires so we can break out the sensor port of the EV3 and connect third-party electronics like a Husky lens or an ESP32. I'm also cutting the DuPont wires a bit in the middle, so I might be able to use the rest of the wire for some other project. And next comes a bit of a finicky job. It's removing the tough black plastic from the EV3 wire. It's very hard to remove without damaging the wires inside. So the way I do it is I cut it lightly with the Stanley knife there, and then I bend it so the last part tears more open than is cut open. Here you can see once you bend it, it tears and the wires become visible on the inside, and at some point you will be able to remove it. I do this very carefully because if you cut too far you have to start over, remove the bit that you've been working on. Here you can see that I damaged the wire myself. It's cut in several places, so I'm going to cut it off and start over, even more careful this time. I think this worked. Yeah, it came off cleanly and the wires are undamaged. So our next challenge is to remove the second layer of plastic from the EV3 wire, and for this I'm going to use a lighter. The nice thing about the lighter is that it burns off the plastic cleanly without damaging the copper inside. The wires are very fragile and I couldn't think of another way to remove the plastic without damaging them. So the lighter it was. It stinks a bit, but it works quite well otherwise. Let's have a look at the end result. This looks quite clean. I'm not cleaning the white and black wires because we're not going to be using them. They are normally for motor ports. Next, we're going to clean the DuPont jumper wires in the same way with the lighter. Remove the plastic. When you do this, take care to burn the plastic well away, because sometimes there is plastic like molten inside the copper cores and then it doesn't solder very well. So apply some extra fire there to make sure that all the plastic is burned away in locations where you want to solder. Now it's time to take out the soldering iron, and what I'm going to do is apply some solder to the wires to the end so that it sinks in quite well. It's like pre-treating every wire tip with some solder. So once I connect them, the pieces of wire will like flow together nicely. I'm speeding up the video here because it takes some time to properly treat all the wire tips, and sometimes you discover there is some plastic and you have to use your lighter again. But ultimately you'll get there. Here I'm using the lighter again, and I think right now everything is treated and it's time to put everything together. I'm using this soldering hand for this. It keeps the wire tips close to each other and ensures that the cover, the shrink tube, doesn't go over into your soldering area. Okay, we're set for the first wire here. The shrink tube is over near the end of the wire, and the wires are properly connected. Time to get out the soldering iron again and get the wires together and try and make these wires stick together. It's a bit finicky, but I found this that this works most of the time. I'm repeating the process for every wire, so I'm going to speed things up a bit. Maybe it's noteworthy to say that I chose DuPont jumpers in the same colors as the internal wires of the EV3, so it's easy to keep track of colors and hook up other devices correctly. It's a bit strange though, because I believe the green wire is plus and the red is ground, so but still it's the color code as everybody knows it. Now it's almost time to shrink the shrink tube, but once that's shrunk, it's hard to repair your connection. So what I'm going to do here is first test the wires if they are well connected with my multimeter, and once they're tested, I'm going to shrink the shrink tube. I'm using the diode testing method here because it creates a little beep when the wire is connected. The green wire is a little problematic, so let's see where the problem is. Maybe the DuPont wire is broken. Maybe I'm not pushing the pen in the correct way. Let's see what is happening here. It seems to work after all. I think we can shrink the shrink tube. Now that these two wires are done, the process is basically the same for the other wires, so I'm going to speed up the video again. Okay, we're almost done here, just shrinking the last two tubes, and we're ready to break out all kinds of third-party electronics with our EV3.